The wind howled through the pines, a low, mournful sound that seemed to carry whispers of something ancient and unrest. The cabin sat alone in the clearing, its weathered boards creaking under the weight of years and secrets. It was late October, and the air in the Adirondacks was sharp with the promise of winter. Emily Harper pulled her coat tighter around her, her breath fogging in the dusk as she stared at the cabin from the edge of the tree line. She hadn't wanted to come here. Not after the stories. Not after the dreams. But the email had been impossible to ignore. It had arrived 3 weeks ago, sent from an address she didn't recognize. j.holloway1932@outlook.com. The subject line was simple. You need to know. The message was brief, written in a stilted tone that felt both urgent and archaic, like something typed on a machine older than her grandparents. It claimed her great-uncle Jonathan Holloway had left her the cabin in his will, a property she'd never heard of despite being the last living relative on her mother's side. The email included coordinates, a grainy photo of the cabin, and a single line that had burrowed into her mind. There are things beneath you must see for yourself. Emily had tried to dismiss it. She was a data analyst, grounded in numbers and logic, not ghost stories or cryptic emails. But the dreams started the night after she read it. Dreams of a dark, endless stairwell spiraling into the earth, of footsteps echoing behind her, of a voice that wasn't hers whispering her name. She'd wake gasping, her sheets soaked with sweat, the image of the cabin burned into her mind. By the third week, curiosity, and something deeper, something she couldn't name, had worn her down. She packed a bag, rented a car, and drove 6 hours from Albany to this forgotten corner of the mountains. Now, standing before the cabin, she questioned her sanity. The structure looked wrong, like it didn't belong to the landscape. The windows were dark, reflecting nothing, and the door hung slightly ajar as if inviting her in. Her phone had no signal, the GPS cutting out a mile back. She was alone, utterly alone, with only the wind and the whispers it carried. She approached the door, her boots crunching on the frost-covered grass. The air grew colder the closer she got, a chill that seemed to seep from the cabin itself. She pushed the door open, wincing at the groan of rusted hinges. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with the scent of damp wood and something metallic like old blood. The main room was sparse. A sagging couch, a wood stove, a table covered in dust. A single bulb hung from the ceiling, unlit. Her flashlight beam danced across the walls, revealing faded wallpaper peeling in strips, exposing raw wood beneath. "Jonathan," she called, her voice small in the silence. She didn't expect an answer. Her great-uncle had died 2 years ago, according to the obituary she'd found online. But the email had felt personal, like he was reaching out from somewhere beyond. She shook her head, dismissing the thought. She wasn't here for ghosts. She was here for answers. A narrow hallway led to a back room. The floorboards creaked under her weight, each step echoing unnaturally loud. The room was empty except for a single piece of furniture. A wooden trapdoor set into the floor, its edges worn smooth by countless hands. A rusted padlock hung from a latch, but it was broken, the metal split as if struck with force. Emily's heart thudded. The dreams flashed in her mind, the stairwell, the darkness, the voice. She knelt, her fingers trembling as she touched the trapdoor. It was cold, unnaturally so, like ice under her skin. She pulled the trapdoor open. A gust of air rushed up, carrying a smell like wet stone and decay. Below was a staircase carved into the earth, descending into blackness. Her flashlight beam barely pierced the dark, revealing only the first few steps. They were uneven, slick with moisture, and seemed to twist slightly as they spiraled downward. She stood frozen, torn between the urge to run and the pull of something deeper, something that felt like it had been waiting for her. She took a step down. The staircase seemed to go on forever. The walls were rough-hewn stone, damp and glistening, etched with faint scratches that might have been claw marks. The air grew colder with each step, her breath visible in the beam of her flashlight. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the drip of water somewhere far below. Her footsteps echoed, but they weren't alone. Every few steps she heard a faint scuff, like someone, or something, following her. She stopped once, spinning around, her light cutting through the dark. Nothing. Just the stairs, stretching upward into shadow. After what felt like hours, the staircase ended at a narrow tunnel. The walls here were different, smoother, almost polished, and covered in carvings. They weren't random scratches but deliberate patterns. Spirals, jagged lines, and symbols that looked like eyes, hundreds of them staring from every angle. Emily's skin prickled. The air felt charged like the moment before a storm. At the end of the tunnel was a door, wooden and ancient, its surface blackened as if scorched. A single word was carved into it, Holloway. Her last name. Her great-uncle's name. Her hand shook as she reached for the handle. The door opened with a low groan, revealing a chamber vast enough that her flashlight couldn't reach the far walls. The floor was stone, inlaid with the same spiraling patterns as the tunnel. In the center stood a circular pit, its edges smooth and worn as if countless hands had touched it over centuries. Above the pit hung a massive stone slab, suspended by rusted chains, swaying slightly though there was no breeze. Emily approached the pit, her heart pounding so loud she thought it might burst. She leaned over, shining her light down. The beam vanished into darkness, swallowed by a void that seemed to have no bottom. But there was something else, a sound faint at first like a heartbeat. It grew louder, rhythmic, echoing from the depths. Not a heartbeat, she realized, but footsteps. Slow, deliberate, climbing toward her. She stumbled back, her flashlight slipping from her hand. It hit the ground and flickered out, plunging her into darkness. The footsteps grew louder, closer, each one sending a jolt of terror through her. She fumbled for the flashlight, her hands shaking so badly she could barely grip it. When the beam flickered back on, she aimed it at the pit. A hand gripped the edge. It was pale, almost translucent, the skin stretched tight over bones that looked too long, too thin. The fingers curled around the stone, nails black and cracked. A second hand followed, then a head emerged, its face obscured by matted, dripping hair. The thing pulled itself up, its movements jerky, unnatural, like a puppet on broken strings. It stood, towering over her, its body shrouded in tattered cloth that seemed to writhe in the dim light. Its face was a mask of shadow, but its eyes, God, its eyes, were pits of endless black reflecting nothing. Emily screamed, scrambling backward. The thing didn't move, didn't speak, but its presence filled the chamber, heavy and suffocating. The air grew colder, the heartbeat sound now a deafening pulse that seemed to come from inside her skull. She turned to run, but the door was gone. The walls had shifted, the carvings now glowing faintly, the eyes pulsing with a sickly light. Emily, it whispered, her name slithering through the air like a snake. The voice was wrong, layered, as if spoken by many mouths at once. She froze, her body refusing to obey. The thing took a step closer, its head tilting at an impossible angle. You were called. She bolted, her flashlight beam bouncing wildly as she ran toward where the door had been. The wall was solid now, seamless, the carvings twisting under her touch as if alive. She pounded on the stone, her screams echoing uselessly. The thing was behind her, she could feel it, its presence like a weight on her chest. She turned, pressing her back against the wall, her flashlight shaking in her grip. It was closer now, its face inches from hers. The hair parted, revealing a mouth, lipless and gaping, filled with teeth that gleamed like obsidian. It didn't breathe, didn't blink, but the eyes bored into her, pulling at something deep inside, something she didn't want to acknowledge. Memories flooded her, her childhood, her mother's death, her great-uncle's stories of the old gods, the ones who lived beneath the earth, hungry for worship. She hadn't believed him then. He did now. The thing reached for her, its fingers brushing her cheek. They were cold, so cold they burned, and her vision blurred. She saw the pit again, but not as it was now. Centuries ago, surrounded by robed figures, their hands raised, chanting in a language that hurt her ears. Blood ran down the stone, pooling in the pit, feeding something vast and ancient below. She saw her great-uncle younger standing among them, his face twisted in fear and reverence. She saw herself standing where he had, her hands stained red. She tore herself free, the vision shattering. The thing was still there, its mouth open wider now, a void that threatened to swallow her. She swung her flashlight, the metal connecting with its head. It staggered, a sound like breaking glass erupting from its throat. She didn't wait to see what it would do next. She ran to the pit, the only way out she could see, and climbed over the edge, her hands slipping on the slick stone. The descent was endless. Her flashlight flickered, the beam growing weaker as the darkness pressed in. The heartbeat sound followed her, louder now, joined by whispers. Her name, her mother's name, name she didn't know but felt in her bones. The walls of the pit were carved with the same symbols, glowing faintly, guiding her deeper. She didn't want to go, but her body moved as if pulled, her hands and feet finding holds she couldn't see. At the bottom, if it was the bottom, was a chamber larger than the one above. The air was thick, almost liquid, and the walls pulsed with a faint, sickly light. In the center stood a mass, shapeless yet alive, a writhing thing that seemed to bleed shadow. Eyes opened within it, hundreds of them watching her. It spoke not in words but in feelings, hunger, rage, sorrow so vast it crushed her. It knew her. It had always known her. She tried to scream, but no sound came. The thing moved, its form shifting, reaching for her. She saw her great-uncle again, his face in the mass, his eyes pleading. She saw others, faces she didn't know, trapped in the same endless hunger. She felt it pulling at her, trying to claim her, to make her part of it. With a strength she didn't know she had, she tore her gaze away, her flashlight beam catching a faint outline on the wall. A door half hidden by the pulsing light. She ran, her legs burning, her lungs screaming for air. The thing roared behind her, a sound that shook the chamber, but she didn't look back. She reached the door, wrenching it open, and stumbled into a tunnel, the walls closing in around her. She ran until her legs gave out, collapsing in the dark. The heartbeat sound was gone, the whispers silent. Her flashlight was dead, but a faint light came from above, enough to see the stairs. She climbed, her body aching, her mind fraying. The cabin was there when she emerged, unchanged, the trapdoor still open behind her. She stumbled outside, the cold air a shock to her system. The stars were out, the wind still howling, but the whispers were gone. She drove away, not looking back, not stopping until she reached Albany. The cabin was still there, in her mind, in her dreams. She didn't sleep for days, afraid of what she'd see when she closed her eyes. The email was gone from her inbox, the address untraceable. She tried to find the cabin again using maps, satellite images, anything, but it wasn't there. The coordinates led to an empty clearing, the trees untouched, the ground unbroken. But sometimes late at night she hears it. The heartbeat. The whispers. Her name, spoken by something that knows her better than she knows herself. And she wonders if she ever truly left the hollow beneath.